I'm here with Geoff Rowe and Steve North. Geoff obviously is the CEO of the Big Difference Company and there's a big part to do with the Dave's Leicester Comedy Festival. And obviously we've got Steve North here as well, who's the GM of Dave, who's going to be pretty heavily involved in Dave's Comedy Festival. So do you want to tell us about what you've been up to recently and what goes into organising such a iconic festival? Comedy festival.
I think to be honest, I know nothing about what goes on in organising a comedy festival. This is the man who organises a comedy festival. I just turn up once a year, have a few drinks, say a few words, and enjoy it. Really.
It sounds ideal.
Yeah,
It's
works well for me.
Pretty much what happens.
What do you do, Geoff?
Well, I have a team of people who pretty much do all the work.
Okay.
No, what do I? You really want to know what I do?
What was your?
It's not very exciting.
I believe it was your final year DMU project.
It was, yes.
That's obviously turned into the longest running comedy festival in Britain.
In Europe.
In Europe.
In fact, yes.
Europe.
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot more impressive. So do you want to tell us about how it all kind of started?
Yeah. Okay. We. So I studied arts management at Moorfield University, and in our final year we had to do a practical project. And that was in 1993. Well, 93 we were told in our final year we had to do a
so you
practical
graduated
project.
in 94.
Yeah, and so we sat around as a bunch of students, as you do, and we're talking about what we wanted to do, and nobody had an idea. Nobody really had a clue about what they wanted to do, and somebody said, why don't we put on a comedy festival?
Yeah.
Now, we were a bunch of students, and comedy at that point was incredibly popular, as it is now. It was the phrase "comedy is the new rock and roll" was coined in '93. Rob Newman and David Baddiel were on the front cover of NME. It was a big deal then, and so we all quite like comedy. So the idea of running a comedy festival seemed like a good idea at the time. Except you must remember that none of us had ever promoted a comedy show in our lives, and none of us knew any comedians or any agents. But not put off by that, we said, yeah, all right, should we put on a comedy festival?
It started more of as a pipe dream, and then you kind of just ran with it.
We knew we had to do it in order to graduate.
Yeah.
We had to do our practice. We had to do the
something.
thing, and we didn't want to do something that was. We wanted to do something that was exciting. So previously there'd been a dance festival, a puppet festival, an Eastern European theatre festival. And they're probably all right if you're into those things. But certainly from my point of view, I thought that was all quite boring.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something exciting, and I wanted to do something that mattered, if you like, to Leicester, that was going to have an impact. Even in those early days, I knew that it was important to get Leicester people involved and engaged in the whole thing. So that was in sort of May, June time. We then, most people, in fact everybody, left to go home for the summer holidays. And I stayed in Leicester and didn't work over the summer holidays, as we did in those days. And I did two things. I rang a friend of mine who worked in London who was working on a comedy show. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I did was a good friend of mine lived next door to Tony Slattery.
Okay.
So I did two things. I rang my friend Sandy and said, can you tell me everything you know about comedy and who we should speak to? And she gave me some agents' phone numbers and manager phone numbers and said, ring these people up. And I spoke to my friend Jim and said, because I knew where he lived, I therefore knew where Tony Slattery lived. So I wrote a letter to Tony Slattery at his home and said, will you become a patron of our comedy festival, largely because I had his home address.
Yeah.
And he rang me, Tony Slattery rang me at home and said, yes, I'll become your patron. And then the agents and managers that I talked to, and then by the end of the summer holidays, when everybody came back from holiday to start university in our final year, it sort of taken some shape really, and I'd got the venues on board by that point, and we had some acts booked, and it was beginning to take some shape. I mean, in those days there was 30 shows in the first festival, so it was hardly, it was hardly a big thing.
Prior to '93, did you have any kind of comedy experience, or was it all?
No.
Did you just have a passion for live entertainment? Or?
If I'm completely honest, my passion, if I have a passion, is for festivals.
Okay.
I love festivals, and
cool.
I love the fact of how festivals. I said this was going to be a real laugh, didn't I? I did. Serious.
It's got into a bit of a bio, yeah.
I think festivals are really important in terms
definitely.
of celebrating and also disrupting the normal flow of life. Mm-hmm. So Glastonbury is an example of that. Edinburgh is an example of that. I think Leicester's an example of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Where you can see a show from midday till 3 in the morning, and you can do things differently. And that was something that was really important to me.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was quite moving. I like that. Steve, as the general manager of Dave, the home of witty banter, was probably a good place to start, kind of getting involved with the comedy festival.
Yeah, for me it's all about the money. We get some amazing tax breaks by... No, not at all. No, it is, absolutely. I think for me what's really exciting, Dave is a brand that I'm incredibly passionate about, and similar to Geoff, Geoff started the festival, launched it from scratch, and I was there at the beginning when Dave launched. If you're yawning already...
I'm not.
So I was there when I was fortunate to be responsible for launching Dave. So I'm incredibly passionate and about Dave, and Dave's a bit like my third child in many respects, which is probably quite true and quite sad. So for me, it's something that's really important for me, and we don't get involved with that many things outside of the TV, and we don't have kind of those third-party relationships with that many other businesses or festivals. We do a bit at Edinburgh, but we don't really sponsor anything in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So for me, the reason why we were talking about this earlier, why I think Leicester's so exciting is because it constantly reinvents itself. So the festival is always adding new things, and we had a meeting this year, and we were talking about what do we do this year, and out of those discussions came the idea about doing the pun championships, and the fact you're doing the comedy lectures, which I think is brilliant and amazing, and having Alexis Sale coming and doing a comedy lecture is just absolutely wonderful. One of the kings of comedy.
Jason Manford as well was kind of
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think so first of all, the fact that the comedy festival constantly looks to reinvent itself and grow and do different things, and it's having to put on 20% more shows this year, over 600 shows, on last year, in its 21st year, is incredible. So, and also the fact that it's still able to attract the top talent, and working in comedy as Geoff does, the comedians now are back to being the rock and roll stars of their day.
Yeah.
And they, are very successful guys who, when they tour, and they tour big, and they do the big stadiums, they can earn a pretty good whack. And they don't need to come and do things like Leicester anymore. They don't need to go do Edinburgh anymore. They don't need to make TV programmes anymore. So the fact that you're still getting the likes of Alexis Sale to come out, and the likes of Jason Manford to come out, and those big names are still willing to come and take part, is testament to the success of the festival and the hard work that Geoff and his team do, and the feeling I think within the comedy community about how much loved it is, and how much they appreciate what Leicester has done for comedy in general. And because when you look at the list of the Mercury Prize winners and you go through it year by year, it's a who's who of comedy. Johnny Baker's there, Jason Manford's there. It's an amazing array of the big names in comedy today. So they owe a lot to the Leicester Comedy Festival. So for us, it makes complete sense for Dave to be part of that, because we like to support the up-and-coming, the grassroots in comedy. That's quite hard to do on television because it costs a lot of money to take a television programme. So to take a big gamble on a complete unknown is very difficult. So we do a lot of work online. We do a lot of work in our support acts for our shows with new talent. But being able to be involved with something like Leicester as well allows us to have that ability to hopefully make it feel like the comedy community that we're trying to give something back to the people who are kind of coming up through the ranks, whilst at the same time being associated with those big names, with the Alexis Sales, with the Jason Manfords, which is still really important for us as a channel to be seen that we're able to deliver those big names. So it's really exciting and it's fun. I mean, we were talking earlier on, at the end of the day, Geoff runs a comedy festival, I run a comedy channel, a TV channel. If we can't have fun in what we do, if we can't have fun in what we do, how do the audiences out there, how do we expect them to enjoy what we're doing if we can't enjoy doing it? So, do you know what, at the end of the day, I think we're very lucky.
It's good that you guys are having fun as well. Obviously, it's the 21st birthday of the festival. Have you guys got anything kind of special planned for this?
I'm jumping out of a cake.
Okay.
Have I told you that?
Yeah. That'd be great.
Nice.
And what will you wear?
I'll leave that down to your imagination.
Okay.
That might be dangerous.
Yeah. So on that bombshell, the cake-based bombshell, it's been an absolute pleasure, Geoff and Steve. Thank you for
Having you.
I never had him.